What's good, everyone? Welcome back for another showcase. It's another time to run through another test of a unit. I did go ahead and finish up the Extreme Z Awakening for the long anticipated tech transforming trunks. So, I pretty much kept the hidden potential levels the way they were. I haven't really gone through the changes. I'm probably going to adjust it here and there, maybe focus a little bit more on additionals or whatnot, but I just wanted to, test it out as is, and the way this run is going to be set up is basically I went through 3 different events. I went from like one of the toughest and kind of eased my way into some of the more, feasible or non-difficult events like the Legendary Vegeta event. So of course this is the Fearsome Activation Cell Max event. And I think the next one after this should be the Rose Red Zone, and then lastly again the Vegeta Legendary Vegeta event. So a lot of changes with the EZA. Let me go ahead and break it down in terms of the overall stats and whatnot. So leader skill wise, future Saga category key +3, HP attack and defense increase 170%, or super type key +3, HP attack and defense of 130% boost. In terms of super attack, pre-transformation raises attack, greatly raises defense for 3 turns, and causes immense damage to enemy. A lot of the passive skill, you're not really going to utilize this because of the transforming condition at after the starting from the 3rd turn. But let me just go ahead and kind of list this out. Attack and defense increase 140%. Super type allies will get key +2. Launches an additional attack that's got a high chance of becoming a super. Chance of performing a critical hit 30% within the same turn with each attack performed, and then obviously starting from the 3rd turn will transform. I'm not going to cover the links or the categories for now. Let's just move on to the Super Saiyan version of Trunks. So again, the nice thing about this one is the super attack ability has been changed to greatly raise attack and defense along with causing immense damage to enemies. So obviously you'll get a greater impact with every super attack toward the attack and defensive boost. In terms of the passive skill, it looks to be attack and defense increase 150%. Super type allies will get key +2 and then key +1 up to a max of 4, plus an additional attack and defense increase 25%, with the max being up to 100% at the start of each turn. Launches an additional attack that's got a great chance of becoming a super attack, and then launches another additional attack that's got a high chance of becoming a super attack starting from the 4th turn from the start of turn. And then lastly, chance of performing a critical hit increase to 30% within the same turn with each attack performed. And obviously this guy can get the boosted power up upon the next attacking turn. So let me just break that down as well. Obviously it's got the nuking effect, where along with attack increase of 40% and defense increase 20% per key sphere obtained, you've also got the ability to perform a critical hit plus an additional attack increase of 50% when performing a super attack, and then super type allies will get key +3 with 4 or more key spheres obtained, and then also has the orb changing ability to randomly change key spheres of a certain type to the tech key spheres. Now in terms of links, and this kind of coincides with the overall team kind of orientation that I went with, but you've got Super Saiyan, Golden Warrior, Royal Lineage, Messenger from the Future, Dismal Future, Prepare for Battle, and Fierce Battle. Now in terms of the overall link setup, right, link partners in general, I went with the Super Saiyan, LR Super Saiyan Trunks and Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta. They do share 5 links, including Saiyan Warrior Race, Royal Lineage, Dismal Future, Prepare for Battle, and Fierce Battle. So you can throw in a lot of others, in the rotation to pick up the other links to fully maximize the boost overall. I ended up going with a couple of variations on this depending on the event itself, but obviously Cell Max is a little bit of a difficult event, so kind of changed some of the landscape in terms of what units I included on the team itself. But I think overall it's pretty much the standard format, right? With the I think leaders for this one was probably the LR Super Saiyan Trunks and Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta. I did go with like the double leads of the AGL LR Vegeta Blue as well, but I think generally speaking, I prefer the double leads with the father and son, Vegeta family format. It just seems to, obviously the intelligence type Trunks and Vegeta are quite good when it comes to the tanking ability, so it makes a lot more sense to throw them in. But I think ultimately, you know, it can vary. This is the, again, the Rose version of the ultimate red zone. I did have to throw in items because even after performing a super attack, you're essentially taking quite a bit of damage. So I didn't want to, you know, ruin the run by any means. So I did apply the Wisp, where you do get that 40% reduction toward damage received. But even then, you're definitely going to be taking some hits in some cases. I think in terms of the tech transforming trunks, you know, you can certainly get the way I mean, this is probably obvious, but the longer the event is, the better this guy gets because of the stacking ability, especially greatly raising attack and defense with every super attack is going to make quite a bit of a difference there. So when it comes to like the shorter, you know, events like Ultimate Red Zone and even the Cell Max event in some cases, you're not going to be able to stack up the attack and defense for the unit as much, so you're not going to get as big of an impact for them. And, you know, with that being said, could be some liabilities toward the defensive side, I think, depending on, you know, whether you're facing like Cell Max or even Rose in this case. Obviously, you're gonna have type disadvantage in the second phase of the event where you're facing the intelligence type enemy, but I had a previous run with the Cell Max, and I think it really just comes down to like the starting rotation, right? If he's, you know, in turn one, you're able to kind of mitigate some of that by getting the transformation sooner and stacking up that attack and defense, but otherwise you're definitely looking at quite a bit of a damage received standpoint. So I think that's my overall take on that. But you know, once you get this guy built up, he's certainly pretty good. He's obviously not like, you know, broken by any means, but he's more than good enough. You know, I think right there was roughly about 400,000 toward defense. So, you know, the additional, you know, active skill from these guys will boost that up by a little bit as well. So I think overall, you know, it's all about how you want to build a team. Like I said, my preference was to link these guys together. Obviously, they share a good amount of links, and you know, the LR is actually quite good, so again, it just makes the run a lot easier in general. So that's kind of the format there. HGL Vegito Blue, you know, obviously I wanted to include some team builds with that guy involved, and certainly a gimmicky unit, but I don't think it's a bad unit by any means. That's some of the noise I've heard recently since the unit's been released. But again, it's more, you really do have to kind of use them a certain way to get the full benefit out of that guy. Is probably the way to look at it. But I think, you know, with all that being said, this is obviously the tech transforming trunks is a unit that I think a lot of people have been waiting for the EZA. So I think timing wise, the commentary is like, it's about damn time, honestly. But at the same time, you know, it's great when it happens. And again, this is just like first glance test of you know, going through several runs, and the more I, you know, played through it and test out the unit and customize some of the hidden potential system a little bit, I think there's probably more value in it. Now I know, you know, the obviously you do want to focus on the additional attack with this guy because of the stacking ability, but I did have the level 11, I think, toward critical hits, but obviously it's up to you whether you want to go with the dodge and additional attack build, or you want to focus on a balanced spread across the group, or additional attack and crits like I currently have it as the defaulted option from, you know, way before the EZA even happened. So I think it really varies on what your intentions are in terms of what events you're planning on bringing the unit to. So I mean, at some point, they'll probably start releasing longer events that are more difficult, that you're easily able to get to, you know, turn 10, 11, 12, and so on, maybe up to like turn 15. At this point, Infinite Dragon Ball history is not really a good testing ground for a unit anymore. I know, like in the past, I used to use that event quite a bit in testing out units, but even though the turn amounts are quite long, I think, you know, each turn is quite short because of the how strong and powerful the units become, right? So it's not even, you're not even getting the maximum output per turn, so it kind of negates some of that process a little bit, I guess, when you're trying to build a unit up fully. So maybe at some point, because of these new units, they'll roll out some difficult events and make sure you can kind of fully take advantage of like each unit's abilities, you know, for every turn. Now, like I said, this is the Legendary Vegeta event. This will obviously drag out the event a little bit longer, so you're able to stack up the attack and defense unit for Trunks quite a bit more. I think, you know, the Cell Max and Ultimate Red Zone, I can't remember the exact turn count, but it's certainly less than some of these events like this one, so you'll definitely see a difference in terms of like the overall build-up, and you know, this is a good way to kind of compare and contrast how this unit does on several different events. So I think I'll probably take the same approach for the EZA for the AGL Zamasu unit as well. I did a no item run on the Cell Max event, so you know, if you missed out on that, certainly check it out. I think more or less I might have ended up using the AGL Zamasu as kind of a floater in like the back end of the events, because you are facing a tight disadvantage situation, but it was certainly fun, and you know, that team build's a lot of fun. The Fusion Zamasu unit's quite good in terms of the overall functionality of the capabilities there. So I think it's quite a powerful unit. Obviously, we have that the new the domain skill set, or you know, whatever you want to call it, basically changing the field and applying some extra boost you know, to your allies or whatnot. So I think the Mai unit's pretty good too. Quite a bit of a nice ally support in that regard. I think she's got the ability to evade attacks as well. So I think for that unit, I went similar to the Zamasu and what was the other guy's name? Gowasu. Just focus on the dodge build for those guys. It's more or less meant to be floaters, and you know, obviously you want to focus on dodge for those guys. So I think this is basically the second before last phase of the Legendary Vegeta event. So at this point, I think he's well over 1 million in defense. You know, this is what, turn 7, so that's actually pretty good in terms of defensive build-up up until that point. So again, like, not necessarily a bad unit by any means. I think this guy's more or less tailored to be more utilized on a longer event. That's really what it comes down to. So luckily Vegeta dodged all these attacks, because I didn't want the HP depleting too much, so you know, Trunks was able to maximize the super attack counts for this particular turn. I think he got up to 4 on this one, if I remember correctly. Alright, got my morning coffee in, so try to get wired. Yeah, I mean, 9.3, considering this unit and the EZA and the landscape of the power creep at this point in time, that's more than acceptable. You know what I mean? It's just kind of crazy how things have gotten, even like within the past year or so. It just, all of a sudden you're easily seeing like 14, 15 million attack stats on a regular basis, and you know, it's quite a bit of a change over time. Okay, so luckily the prior rotation did not eliminate Vegeta's HP here, so we got the ability to go ahead and transform to the boosted format. And unfortunately, the way it looks is I wasn't able to convert the orbs as much, so wasn't able to fully maximize the attack stats in terms of this particular rotation. But I think generally speaking, I was able to convert the map earlier in the video, so this is probably a good realistic way to look at the differences, in case you do get unlucky and not able to convert a lot of the orbs on the field itself. So I think my general takeaway here is it's more than an acceptable EZA. I'm just glad it happened, because I've been waiting a long time, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have been as well. So links up very well with the LR Vegeta and Trunks. Obviously, those guys are very good, and you know, you can combine them with several different units, I'm sure, and it'll work just fine. I think in terms of tougher events, it just makes it easier to go with this format. So that's my overall first impressions on the EZA for this unit. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.